Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. For today's video, I'm playing against none other than Woot, also known as King Bodgy, a fellow streamer and a strong Mechabellum player from the 301 region. Having a look at the packs, I decided to go for Farseer spec. It's one of my strongest specs in my opinion, and Steel Ball Arc is always going to be useful. Steel Ball has a lot of good matchups early on, and Arc Lights are always going to be useful as a strong shaft clear option. Now my opponent decides to go for one of the new packs with Sabertooth Crawler, and though Sabertooth has a lot of good matchups, I think Steel Ball is one of the ones that it doesn't like fighting so much. Even though it has the damage to one-shot Steel Balls, killing all 4 of them with a 3.6 second reload is often a bit too much to ask from them. And yeah, one Steel Ball locks on, and if it keeps the lock, it will kill it in no time. For those of you that don't know, Woot likes to play a lot of asymmetrical pushes, always on the right side of the board, or the left side from his perspective. And yeah, I mean, I'm playing into it here, playing asymmetrical on that side as well, trying to make sure that we are in a headbutt and my Steel Balls have a good position in front of the Sabers, or at least where I was expecting the Sabers to be. Woot decides to buy 2 more Arc Lights, makes sense. It's almost the only play, really, that you should make if you start with Sabertooth plus Chaff. Double Arc Light is a very logical addition to that. And now let's see how this will play out. Opponent decides to put all the crawlers on one side rather than put some of them behind the left tower. And now we just have to see how these Steel Balls will perform. 2 of them already dying there though, but you can see that some of them here are locked on. And sadly for me, as much as I said that the Steel Balls had a good matchup, we got a really bad clumping there in the middle. All the Steel Balls heading for that one crawler pack and not going for the Sabers, and so we do end up losing round 1 sadly. Round 2. Rhino Assault available. Woot picks it up and I decide to pick it up as well. It's these type of spells, Wasp Drop, Underground Threat, are usually insta-picks because they're so hard to deal with both for yourself and for your opponent that it's worth trying to go for the towers. And so both of us have the same idea here. Both of us level the towers and both of us throw the rhinos at the tower. Now I decide to put another crawler here on the right side and a fang on the left tower to protect, trying to slow down that rhino ever so slightly. And hopefully that should give me the advantage and allow me to get a debuff first. Steel Balls this time around have a bit of a better lock, and so you can see here the one Steel Ball will kill that Saber. And now we get the debuff, Steel Ball here locked on, and suddenly we have exactly what we were hoping for and we fixed the problem. Also thanks to that debuff, but we played around it correctly, managed to slow down our opponent's Rhino for long enough, and so now we can just speed things up as we only have to kill this unit drop. Round 3, I get my Farseer. And on top of that, we also get unit reinforcements, so it's a big round. Rhino, Marksman, Phoenix, and Fortress are available. Now, because I have the Farseer, I don't need to worry too much about Phoenix. And so I actually am thinking, well, Fortress here doesn't seem too bad. Let's try and play that. Also, even if he does go Phoenix, I was planning to go with Fang Production Fortresses in this game because it's very good against Arclight, very good against Saber, very good against Fortress, and the Fangs can also kill units like Phoenix down the line. Opponent decides to go for the Fortress here as well and decides to click Charge Shot on the Arclights. I was rather surprised by this, but it means that Fangs should be even better as the Arclight lose some of its chaff clear capacity in order to get more damage. I have enough money to buy another Fortress and also add another Fang in the front. And so the battle continues. Farseer here in the right, covering the flank in case he tries something cheeky. But this looks really good for us. Fortresses are locked onto the Sabers. Even though this one is leveled, it will go down. Farseer helping out too. Steel balls are still alive. And with the 2 fortresses remaining, we should just be able to win the round here. With 2 giants left alive and a Farseer, that should be a lot of damage. 1,000 just from these 3 units. And then there's a Fang Pack alive as well. So round 4 and my opponent is already down to 2k. Out of the cards here, Portable Shield looks pretty good. Tank Production Line, also something we could consider, but it is a little bit expensive, and I kind of wanted to buy Fang Production here already. Opponent goes for the Port Shield. Port Shield also good for Steel Balls, by the way. I decide to sell one of my Steel Balls since it's not doing too well anymore, and I want to get that money available. And yeah, we try to put that Portable Shield onto the Steel Balls, give them a bit more survivability, and they should still be good as long as they lock on, and that tankiness should help them get to that point. Opponent sells out of the fortress there, realizing that he can't win the mirror anymore because I already had 2. I decide to pick up another fortress. I pick up the Fang Production as well, and now it's just waiting what the opponent decides to do. Port Shield goes onto the Saber. 950 remaining. And we have Elite Recruit Arc Lights. Triple blue arc. Trying to have a go at my tower here. Should be able to get that in the long run, but question is whether or not his right side will survive at all by the time that he manages to do that. And let's see how this goes. Fortress should just be very good against this. I'm not too worried when I see this, and I was thinking, well, if he's gonna buy arc lights, especially with charge shots, then Shielded Fang becomes even more valuable. You can see that we're trading favorably here, and we managed to kill basically all of his units apart from this Saber when our tower goes down, so we don't really care about that debuff. Saber is still locked onto all of these Fangs that just spawned. Arclight will be able to kill one of the fortresses though, so saving himself 350 there in terms of hit points. But as we speed things up, Farseer will clean that Arclight from the board. That's another good round, and the opponent now down to 1,000 as we enter round 5. Round 5, Orbital Javelin shows up. And Woot decides to skip it. Picks up the improved firepower control system. Now, I was not expecting this whatsoever. I thought that for sure there would be a Jav on the right side. And so what you're going to see me do is sell out of one of these units and then kind of reposition more towards the left side so that it doesn't get as much value. Maybe I should have just left it though, since I think I was in such a good spot that I could have probably just taken the hit if you really wanted to buy the Jav. Now I decide to buy 2 more fortresses here on the left, buy a Fang pack as well to make sure this Arclight doesn't lock onto the fortress, and we give Fang Shield now. Improved firepower control system goes onto the Arclights. And here, with the loan, 2 Wraith come out. Now, again, I wasn't expecting this, because I didn't think he would have the money for something like this, since I was expecting the Javelin. But yeah, that is double Wraith, and with exactly enough money to get Field Maintenance. Now, Field Maintenance in this instance is better than Armor. At least in the long run, because it kind of cancels out Ignite to some extent, right? Ignite ticks for 6% HP a second, but Field Maintenance heals up 4.5% a second, which means that it takes an awful long time to kill these, even if I were to click Ignite. So that means I will have to buy something else. And with only Fangs as my anti-air here, I don't think we'll be able to kill this. I mean, we have a Farseer, but level 1, you can see that that's simply not enough against this massive Wraith. and it's just out healing all of the damage that it's taking. We'll be able to get a debuff, but yeah, Wraith here farming up even that level 2 fortress. The Fangs completely helpless. And so Woot here managing to avoid a disaster, finds the correct play to be able to stay alive. And yeah, we can speed things up, but I won't even have anything left alive. The level 2 Wraith there dealing enough damage to be able to kill all the giants. And that's 600 damage going my way. Now, I think I still win the board very convincingly. However, here Incendiary Bomb shows up, and Woot every time picks the thing I'm not expecting. I was, again, convinced that he would pick Incendiary Bomb. However, Absorption Module is incredibly powerful on Wraith, so I kind of get it as well. But here you'll see me play around the Incendiary, and at least utilizing some shields to make sure I don't burn up. And here I need... well, the only thing I need to worry about really is the Wraith. Opponent decides to pick up range to make sure that they survive a bit longer, and also sells out of the arc lights to transfer the improved firepower control system. Just buys more crawlers. And here I think I make a bit of a mistake. I decide to go for Phoenixes instead of something like Melter. This should have just been a Melter. It should have been somewhere over here. And yeah, now I lack the money to be able to get Phoenixes with range. I only have Charge Shot. And against the Wraith, that is a little bit dodgy since the Phoenixes only have 110 range. With the tower bonus. If my opponents were to pick temporary range as well, he would actually outrange my Phoenixes. So we'll have to see how this goes. I was hoping I would just have enough of a front line with all of the Fangs and the fortresses so that the Phoenixes would survive. But actually, if you look at the fortress, it has 5 more range. Crawler here on the flank. Rhinos have been deployed, but it tanks a missile and the other Rhino will come over to kill it. So no debuff for me this round, at least not early on. But yeah, you can see here, we are managing to lock on, but that Wraith kills my Phoenixes. Well, we have 2 more left. But the Wraith here is refusing to not shoot at my air units. And so, oh no, the Wraith lives. And if it would have died, we would have simply won the round with 3 giants left alive. But the Phoenix there gets sniped. And so now it's just a waiting game to see whether or not this Wraith can kill all of my fortresses. If the 3 fortresses live, it would be enough. But with 45 seconds remaining, I think he'll at least be able to kill this fortress here. The other one does start to walk in, meaning that these guns are now shooting at all 3 forts, dealing less damage to the low HP one. 15 seconds remaining. Will it live or will it die? 5 seconds. And oh! Disaster strikes. My Phoenix dies that round and the fortress ends up dying at the last second as well. And so instead of winning there and then, we have to play another round. Now we get 3 units. I decide to pick up the Phantom Rays as a form of frontline. Also, Phantom Ray, normally speaking, is pretty decent into Wraith. But against these high level ones, and especially with the Absorption Module, I'm not sure how good it really is. Phantoms, though, are very good for my opponent, as it kind of prevents me from buying a Melter. Or even if I do, the Phantoms will get in the way of the Wraith. I obviously decide to range my Phoenixes, but now my opponent goes for anti-air barrage on the fortresses. Yeah, here is another reason that I should have probably just picked up the Melting Point instead of those Phoenixes the round before. And yeah, now it's just all come down to the Wraith. My opponent has managed to kind of avoid the ground, which he's heavily losing. But all of the ground units are managing to kind of protect these Wraith. And because they've started to level, because of their items, these have turned into proper carry Wraith. Now, I do decide to go for a flank here with my Phoenixes and one on the left side as well. And both are starting to lock on. So let's see if we can make this work. Phoenix is here locked on, so the Wraith does end up dying. But somehow, some way there, the debuff wears off. And so this Wraith now somehow is managing to avoid the Phoenixes. The Fortress AA killed one of them that was shooting at them. It looks like the debuff will fall. But surely it should be enough, right? And nope, Fortress AA there, killing more of my Phoenixes. And with that, we only have a pair of level 1 Phoenix remaining against this Wraith with the absorption module. Is that going to be enough? I'm not so sure. It's not. You can see that it's just tanking the damage and regenning it because of the field maintenance and because of that absorption module. And with 30 seconds remaining, I mean, we just need the one fortress to live. But I think that yet again, it will go down in the nick of time. And yeah, 8 seconds remaining. Phoenixes will die as well. And this Wraith now ready to level up yet again. I mean, we are getting very unlucky here, but I'll try and replay the round later with a melter and see how that plays out. Because the Phoenix is definitely here come to bite me, right? Too expensive because you need charge shot and range. I wasn't able to get range on the first turn. Forte A now is a counter to Phoenix, which would not be available if I just bought a melter. And now we get Orbital on top of things. So yeah, the Phoenixes here are not having a good time, and I'm getting properly punished for picking them. I decide to pick it up as well because it's at least good chaff clear if it does manage to hit. But yeah, I think at this point I realize, well, the only thing left to do is to try and buy a melting point. There's nothing else really. Of course, I'm going to try and shield. Maybe this wasn't necessary though, and I decide to pick up the energy shield. I think this might be a mistake as well, where I probably should have just invested into a melting point tech here. Either range or something like energy absorption would have gone a long way. And then just missile out the front, probably to hopefully lock onto this Wraith. Temp range, we're buying more shielded fangs as well. I thought maybe I could get another debuff here, but my opponent does put down a fang pack and 2 missiles. I was hoping maybe we could get in because the Phoenixes would be able to tank at least 1 missile with the shield. But the opponent plays around it correctly. And yeah, Wraith kills my melter sadly, so there goes my damage. And at this point it's just a little bit too late, as my opponent is walking in very fast, able to chaff clear efficiently with the floating artillery array he picked up. And because of the high levels and the absorption module, the healing is just out of control on the Wraith. And I simply cannot seem to kill these guys. And yeah, we can speed things up here. A couple of fangs left alive on the left side. Now we get round number 9. More free units available. Both Wasp and Sledgehammer, I think, not that useful for me. Raiden, I'm not sure does that much either. And I know that my opponent will likely go for something like Overlord with Photon, which he does pick up. So even though Raiden with something like Chain and EMP could be decent, yeah, against the Photon that won't be possible. So I decide to do the same thing. Pick up the Photon, hopefully create some more tankiness on my board. And see if we can finally lock on. I level up my melting point. I decide to pick up energy absorption. And here there's another, like, either I can buy another melter in the back, or I could give range maybe to my melter. And yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just all about trying to kill these Wraith. But now, because we're so late into the game, my chaff clear is actually starting to falter somewhat. Where I was getting by very easily in the early game thanks to the spawned fangs. But now you can see there's just a bunch of crawlers everywhere. And I can't possibly deal with all of them. And they will cause distraction for long enough for these Wraith to probably get in and kill my melter. And it's not just the crawlers, right? It's also these phantoms. You can see that we've got decent healing, but this Wraith just DPSs so quickly. More crawlers running in, and yeah, the melter dies yet again. We did manage to get rid of one Wraith, but this level 4 one has been a bane for the past 4 rounds or so. And even though the Phoenixes are managing to lock on, there is another bad debuff there. And because of that, the Phoenixes die. Maybe I should have leveled up my tower a couple times. The Fangs are killing the Overlord there. But once again, this Wraith just absolutely demolishes the board. And so once again, round 9 doesn't go my way. Round 10, another absorption module shows up. Portable shield as well. EMP doesn't do anything since both of us do have photon. And yeah, my opponent picks up another absorption module there. Rhino drops are available yet again. This tower here on the left, level 4 now, so not really worth going for. Another thing I could have done is maybe flank on the left side here with a Phoenix and try to have them move all the way across to this tower. That could have been a play. Since this one is still level 1, but it would have taken a while, and with how fast the Wraith are pushing in, I'm not sure if it would have done anything significant. Opponent now recruits 2 level 2 Wraith, pushes into my left tower, and I was kind of expecting it. But at the same time, I also still had to deal with the right side. So you see me level up the left tower here as a kind of safety measure. But yeah, these Phoenixes are not going to have a good time, that's for certain. I have to put down missiles on the flanks here to deal with the crawlers as best I can. I move the melter backwards to hopefully keep it alive. The tower is level 3 as well. I decide to Rhino jump onto this Overlord for a little bit of damage. And I maybe could have gone for a Rhino drop aggressively there. Opponent goes for it as well. Trying to push into this level 3 tower of mine. And yeah, by the end of it, I think chaff clear here is just the main problem. Opponent is way ahead of me thanks to those Wraith. Tower debuff does go down. But I just cannot seem to clear a couple of these Fangs fast enough, and so we don't get the lock-ons, and that Melter, I am pretty sure, will die. As it's still not managing to find the mark. Rhino as well, walking in now, and that's going to be all she wrote on turn 10, as I sadly lose this game. Now, I'd like to go back to the Fated round, where I did not buy a Melter, and instead I bought Phoenixes so we can see what the result would have been. Let's go to, I think it was round 6 that the 2 Wraith were already on the board. Yes, it was. And so here we can take over from my perspective. And then probably we just pick up an absorption module if we want to buy a Melter. We probably sell these steel balls here. And then we decide to buy a melting point. Give this and that. And then the Rhino, we can probably run into the tower somewhere over here. Of course, there was an incendiary. I'll try and pretend like I was playing around that. Although, maybe it's not the best because It's kind of hard to shield this anyway. Let's do it regardless. I think range here wouldn't be the worst thing. I think I would take a loan, or I should take a loan rather. Put another shield somewhere here, and then maybe a Fang defensively on this side as well. And then let's see how this plays out. Now, keep in mind, I only needed to deal, I think, 300 damage or so? Maybe it was 1,000. I mean, the Melter is still kind of struggling, but I will get a debuff here. And yeah, with the Melter, we will come out ahead. And we'll have plenty of Giants left alive. So this was the easier answer. And I'm not really sure why I didn't go for it. Elite recruiting Phoenixes there, if I didn't have them on the board, really didn't make any sense. And so, yeah, I could have easily just closed out the game on round 6. But I made a mistake and I got punished for it. So, yeah, this was a very insightful game. If you have a target that is really big and you don't know how to kill it, Melter should always be your go-to. That is, I think, the lesson here. Anyway, if you liked this game, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought about this in the comments down below. Consider subscribing if you want to stay up to date with my latest content. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.